Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Idiots in a Room podcast for the first time in almost a year. It's been a while since we've done this. I don't know where to begin.
I don't really. When I'm
I
trying
don't
to
even.
still figure out the exact day when we released the last one.
Yeah, I
Because
don't even.
I know, yeah, October 27th, 2023 is when that released. Um, so I remember at that time I was trying to go back to college for the second time. And also trying to balance that full-time student with full-time job at a news station as a video editor. Uh, I now live in St. Paul, Minnesota, and am currently unemployed and am never going back to college. Just to kind of lay that down. Uh,
The last episode release, I was living down in Florida. I was a Disney cast member. I was working pretty much every single day, and now I'm back at home. I am also unemployed,
yeah.
and I am not going back to school either because fuck that.
I think that's a very general consensus that a lot of people around our age are having right now.
I mean,
Uh,
what's the point of it, really?
well,
Like,
there is a point, but I think it's not as valuable for a lot of people anymore.
right?
It's
Well,
just
I
kind of
mean,
like
yeah. Go
it's
ahead.
the expected path for a lot of people to take in life. I know that, my parents growing up would always tell me, if you want a good life, you gotta go to college to get that good job, to get that good house, to get that good marriage. And I'm just like, no, that's not really what I need to succeed in life right now.
Right.
I so obviously the pandemic ruined college for a lot of people. The education in general was really stunted, but that's where I dropped out for the first time. And then, as I said, I tried going back in uh, last fall. I think it was literally like a year ago at this time where I was like filling out the application for transferring over and trying to figure out how that would all work out. Um, yeah, and then the autumn semester sucked because I was who knew that working a full-time job and being a full-time student was not the move.
No.
I
Yeah.
thought that I could do it for just one semester so that I could still have some sort of income because I was actually paying out of my pocket for that for first semester. Uh, did not last. Um, and then yeah, second semester rolled around. Before the second semester could even begin, and I was like mentally prepping myself of like, okay, I don't have a job anymore. I can really focus on my studies. I'm getting to the art classes that I want with my major this time. Before any of that even started, like a week before, my dad gets a text or an email rather from work uh, saying that the entire hospital system he's been working at for the last 20 years is shutting down all operations by April this year. They ended up shutting down in March instead, so that was fun. In the area. I don't know. I imagine they're still trying to figure a lot of that out over in Eau Claire, but
Definitely. My grandpa was a Sacred Hearts person for like all of his major medical stuff, and he had a pretty nasty accident a couple months ago. And because Sacred Heart shut down, they couldn't find anywhere in the area, so he had to be rushed up to the booth,
yeah,
and
man.
that was a pretty scary thing because I was still down in Florida, of course, and I was scared I was going to have to come home. I was pretty much prepared to come home at any rate, just in case anything needed to be done. But it was it definitely caused a lot more problems than you know they would have liked. I think.
My mom worked as a secretary. She still works as a secretary receptionist for Mayo. And I remember she told me one story of a cancer patient who was coming over to Mayo to try and find treatment there, and they just weren't entirely sure if they were going to be accepted there or not because of how many people were being left without a health provider now. The community as a whole has taken a big hit because of all that. And
Significant losses.
yeah, and for my family, we had to sell the house that I grew up in, which that felt weird. It felt like for a long time my parents kept talking about wanting to sell the house, but my dad seemed very committed to staying there until he retired at the very least. And so I figured, that house would be somewhere I could go back to again and again until like my 30s at least. But to be living there with my parents and then have to be shoved everything back out and figure out where to put it, that was one hell of a process earlier this year. It's all settled down now. I feel like I've moved into this new place pretty well. I'm with my siblings now, my sister and my sibling-in-law. I just grouped them together as my siblings.
That's cool. And you're enjoying the cities and big,
Yeah.
big.
I mean, the Twin Cities is where I pictured myself going after Eau Claire anyways. I didn't expect myself to be here so soon and without a degree still. But I'm not going to go back to try and get a degree now. Like, I had to drop out of UWEC because of the move, and this is the second time I've been taken out of college due to life circumstances outside of my control. I feel like it's just a sign for me to push that aside and focus on the goals and drives that I've always had inside of me, like for writing, for art, music making, video editing, just trying to explore that in a more creative avenue as much as I can.
And since you brought that up, let's talk about your personal YouTube channel.
Yeah. So this was also something, my New Year's resolution at the very start of this year was to grow myself creatively in as many ways as I could. That didn't mean anything like release an album, release a book, anything like that. No, It was just like I wanted to grow myself creatively in all areas over the course of this year. And on the video editing side of things, I tried to push myself towards a challenge of uploading one video a day onto the channel, even if it was just like a quick gaming clip that I had saved from years ago that I was meaning to upload at some point. I just wanted to push myself to get a lot more of that out there and to edit something of good quality every now and again where I could. And I failed that challenge partially because of the move, but I'm still at it. Still trying to put out edited videos that I feel like are somewhat worthwhile.
Well, you just did a pretty long live stream the other day.
Yeah, I've been trying to do some streams every now and again. I want to try to do one a month, basically. But yeah, I did one 4 days ago. I had to look at the calendar.
But you've been doing a lot of a large range of things, not just gaming. You've also been doing music.
Yeah, trying to figure out my way around the music programs I've had on my computer for a long while and just haven't really done much with. Specifically, I have GarageBand that you've probably heard of. And then there's a more advanced one called Logic Pro. Ironically, that's the one I jumped into first. Because I was like, GarageBand, that's for teens and kids to play around with. Give me the real deal. The two programs are honestly pretty similar. I think the differences between them are a lot more technical, if anything. Yeah, I think the differences between that and GarageBand are honestly a lot more technical, if anything. Because the interface and general UI between both programs is pretty similar. It wasn't too difficult for me to jump over to GarageBand after messing around with Logic Pro over the last few years. Even before I committed myself to doing this throughout the year, when I was back home, we had a grand piano in our basement that I would just like to go down and play every now and again. And I figured, why not start recording some of those? And so on my phone, I have a bunch of recordings of like the little 20 to 30-minute sessions that I would sit down and play for. And there's like,
wow,
so many of these. There's like 90 in this folder alone. Yeah, so I definitely got some practice in. It wasn't anything formal, but oh my gosh, you're flashing red.
yeah.
His blood is boiling, everyone. He really wants to get that music going now.
What the hell? Okay. We've been having technical issues all day, folks. This is okay. Is it done?
You know, we've never promised ourselves to be the highest quality podcast, but yes, it is fixed now.
Okay. Yeah, we've never promised the highest quality. We've always promised something. I don't know what that something is, but we sure promised it. I don't know if we've delivered it.
How have you been over the last few months, Chris?
Well, you know, I've been pretty good. I got home from Disney about a month ago, and I've been trying to take it a little easy because I worked basically over 300 days out of the past year with only a few off. So I've just been trying to really relax and, just take some time for myself. But now I think I'm rested up enough to where I can come back and do this again. I've already started putting out a couple of minor videos, but we're working on a few other things at the moment. You and I are going to be working on something in person in just a couple of weeks here.
Yeah,
I'm still
going to be
really
traveling back to Eau Claire again.
we're going to be working with our good friend Nich on a project. Not saying what it is though yet, mostly because I don't really know what it is yet.
I have a vision in my head about how it'll turn out, but yeah, I guess
we're in the question phase of like, oh, what's this going to be? But we're excited about it.
Yeah, it's something. That's really all we wanted out of just getting together and trying to make a film. So yeah.
And we've been trying to do this for years now, years and years.
Things just keep happening, dude.
Mm-hmm. Remember our very first summer when we wanted to do this, and you went to Mexico for a month, and you said, all right, when we come back, we're all going to have something written down.
I didn't go to Mexico for a month, but where was I for that month? I was away somewhere, wasn't I?
You were maybe it
Colorado?
Was maybe?
Was it Colorado? I feel like that was the summer after I graduated high school. 2018, right?
Yeah, no, you're right, 2018, because we met in 2017. So
yeah, I remember that I went on a graduation vacation a few weeks afterwards, part of which was to get me over to the orientation for the university I went to in Fargo.
Okay, so maybe it was Colorado or something.
Anyway, yeah, I also remember having you guys like try to keep up the momentum without me there, and then we all came back, and it was like, so what we doing?
And we were all like, oh yeah, we were supposed to do something. We don't really have anything here. Back in those days, it was 4 of us.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
There was a 4th person. I lost track of him some time ago. There were 4 of us originally, and then it whittled down to 3, and then it sort of whittled down to 2. And fact, that's where we got the original name, Three Idiots in a Room. It was supposed to be me, Nick, and Chris. Or, not Chris, Mitch.
You,
Yeah, so-
yourself, and I.
There's a second Chris. He's out there. Don't let him inside.
Oh, God, dude. Oh, throwback to the season 1 finale over here.
The greatest episode we had done at that point.
We were on another level back then.
We were. Actually, I've been watching through some of those old ones, and ooh boy, we said some interesting things.
Yeah, I figured. This is our ability to be as unhinged as possible, and
Absolutely.
scream it into the void. It's not gonna stop yet. It's not gonna stop anytime soon.
Season 50, baby.
Oh my God, 50 seasons.
Once we get to season 50, we can talk about legacy stuff.
I don't know, part of me hopes we would move on to something a bit better than the 50 seasons of this, but at the same time, I can definitely see it. If we live long enough, anything's possible.
We're just two old men. Welcome back to the Idiots in a Room podcast. Talk about how things were better during the pandemic.
Oh my God, no, we're never gonna talk about that. What do you mean? Things have been so bad.
Oh my. Every year since like 2016 has been the worst year, I think. You know?
Debatable on since 2016.
Maybe
I
like
can see why that's where you draw the line, but at the same time, I don't know. Just I compare like my year-to-year reflections on more of a personal basis than a worldwide one.
Sure.
That said, it was pretty hard to separate that when it came to 2020.
No,
So,
personally and worldly, 2020 was probably the worst year. But I think for me personally, I've been doing pretty well since then. You know, I've been able to do some pretty cool things. But actually, we are coming up, not this month, but next month, on 4 years of the Idiots in a Room podcast.
dude.
And even if we've taken some long hiatuses, we've still kept it pretty consistent up until this point. So 4 years, I can't believe it. Well, since we're talking about the old days of the Idiots in a Room podcast, your free meetings will end in 10 minutes.
Zoom, how could you do this to us?
All right, now let's talk about my favorite thing in the entire world: paying for things that don't need to be fucking paid for. Let's talk about that for a second.
Paywalls have been going up everywhere across the internet, and it's only gotten worse as the pandemic's cooled down and everyone's starting to not use the internet as much. Also, my face looks really funny right now.
So basically, Zoom has told us that we only get 40 minutes per meeting without an upgrade. So I didn't think we had been talking for over 30 minutes, but I
Me
guess
neither. Things just happen well, I mean, we've been, I don't know, did it count when we joined the meeting? Because we definitely had a little bit of like prep talk before this that might have cut into that
Yeah,
time.
I think it did count that, which is kind of good, you know.
All right.
But
things are just getting more expensive on the internet and everywhere.
Things are getting more complicated too. It took us probably 30 minutes just to get in the room here and start this thing. So I don't know. I think I'm over the internet, if I'm being completely honest.
Pull the
No,
plug, get this cable.
Seriously,
Go back to cable and getting pen and paper and a fax machine. We used
So
to
yeah,
use Zencaster. Zencaster was free services for like at least I think up to people calls
yeah,
for a good while.
Zencaster worked really well because even though it didn't have visuals, that's why pretty much the entire first season was audio. Um, it worked okay because it was free and we were able to do just what we were doing. And
Yeah.
then it worked out as such that when we got back to in-person stuff, we were able to record just at my place and using cameras, and that was about 10 times easier.
Yeah,
Than
I wish that we could still do that, but unfortunately, I've been split apart. Everyone's just become kind of reliant on internet services to some extent now, to the point where I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
individuals and companies seeing monetary potential within that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 17-year-old me was really onto something when my phone broke and I just decided to not tell anyone about it for 3 months and I burned CDs and played them in my car for music.
Well, I mean, it just seems to me that the world has taken things that should be very simple to do and have just totally complicated them to the point of no return. And the only way to decomplicate those things is to pay for it.
Well,
Anyway, our handy dandy timer here says that we have 3 minutes and 38 seconds
the
remaining.
menacing timer.
And one thing I've noticed when we do these shows is it always takes a long time for us to finish out, so we might as well start finishing out right now. So, any final thoughts for this riveting episode?
Man, life's crazy. Thanks to anyone who made it this far with us for suffering
Yes.
through
Yes.
the technical errors.
You guys watching this show all the time, you're the real troopers here. Thank you for watching this episode of the Idiots in a Room podcast. I am your host, Chris Janke, and with me, as always, is...
I wish I remembered my name. That's the hardest part every day. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, who the fuck am I? Nifty Nick of E, indeed.
Yes. Check out his YouTube channel. He has a lot of good stuff on there. And I've been talking way too long.
We got less than a minute. We gotta go. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Adios.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.